Welcome to the Pasta Lab. Beside me here, is a yellow Maserati supercar that needs some repairs to the front left guard. Oh wait, maybe not quite. Front left guard appears to be okay, and it's also red and blue, and don't think Maserati. No, it's not a Maserati, is it? Ever remember going to the pub back in the day? Well, I do. And there were the video games. I don't remember what it was called. Comment in the comments section if you remember what it was called. You could pick all the rally cars from Group B and stuff like that, and zoom. This is not quite. It's very close to, but it's not quite that car. It is a Lancia. It's a Lancia Delta, and it is turbo, 4-cylinder, much like those cars were, but this is just a front-wheel drive one. This is not the 4-wheel drive one. And it's most definitely is race car though, very race car. And this poor race car has been waiting for a very long time for me to give the owner a little bit of a hand, because it's suffered a little bit of a catastrophe in the front here. An engine very bad. Was. So owner has, Carl, I don't think he's going to care if I use his name. Carl has pulled it apart and he's fixturized it, and just needed a couple of things done to make it good to put on dyno. So he ran out of time. I'm sure he won't mind me telling the story. He ran out of time because life got in the way. It just needed to be cranked over and get some oil pressure and kick her in the guts and fire it up. It didn't want to, so it took a little bit of tomfoolery, shall we say, a little bit of finesse. So initially I pulled all the spark plugs out of it and overfilled the sump. Sometimes that'll help you get oil pressure on a fresh build. It didn't. So then I disconnected one of the oil hoses. I think it was actually that one there. That's in line. And that reduces the back pressure for the pump. So the pump's got, sucks it from the sump here, goes through the pump, and if there's nothing on the end of it, it makes it really easy for it to flow through and make it get oil pressure. And it didn't. It didn't work. So I had to take that off, put a fitting on it, put a funnel on it, and fill it up with oil, and literally jam oil back down its throat to the oil pump. And then I put compressed air and gave it a bit of a blasting, make sure it got into the pump there, put it all back together, and we had oil pressure. Yeehaw! So then ran through just a series of little issues. The crank, I love crank angle sensors, they're the bane of my existence. The crank angle sensor bracket was just slightly out of alignment, and it was causing a trigger error on the, I could pick that up through the Link ECU, watching the runtime values and watch a trigger error counter clocking up. So it's okay, have a look at that. This one's running a G4 Plus. Yeah, G4 Plus Atom. Oh, he's hiding in there. He's a bit hard to see. There he is there. So it doesn't have the trigger scope on that model, but you can use runtime values and watch the trigger error counter and see whether you have a problem there. And it did. So just realign that bracket there. Timing's now, the triggers are now working. We've got no errors coming up. Then set the spark timing. That was a bit of a trick. There were a couple of marks on the pulley down the bottom. I thought I had set it correctly. It was somewhere near where it had been in the past. However, that was about, off the top of my head, it was 25 degrees out or something like that. There's 2 marks on the pulley, and they don't clearly identify it. A bit like this thing here with the ATI damper with very hard to read the timing marks. So in the end, I actually pulled number 1 out, turned it over, found compression, found TDC on number 1, and checked and saw, yeah, that's definitely the wrong mark that we had been using. Put some tape on there and a bit of a vivid to make sure we were on the right one, reset the timing. Now the thing should have run at that point. It didn't, because the fuel pump wasn't going. So It's a bunch of relays, fuses, check the power supply, all that sort of carry on. Fuel pump had died after sitting for a couple of years. It happens. So we put a brand new fuel pump in there. Actually, I'm talking utter crap. Don't mind that being there. This is his old fuel pump here. That's a 044 Bosch 044 Tinesium ripoff. He did. I did hit it with a hammer to see if it would bring it back to life, but nah, it just does not go. So I had one that I used for pumping ethanol out of tanks and stuff, so I loaned that into the car. That used to reside in the March. And that worked, so that got that problem solved. I need to clean that out and make sure I don't kill that. So we climbed out from underneath the back of the car over there where the fuel pump is, and we had the laptop all hooked up, and wifey giving me a hand, cranking it over, and go. Nah, do some adjustments on the fuel. Go. Nah. And so then I did the injector test. Now normally with injectors you should hear quite a decent click going on, but these injectors in here wasn't really a decent click at all. It was more of a pathetic little weak, not much of a click. So we got the old, took that off there. Was that tight? Yeah, I did tighten that back up. Took that off there. Engine start. Rightio, crank that. Boom, away it goes. But it would only run with the engine start. So that means we had all the valve timing was right, the ignition was right, we had compression, we had spark, we just had no fuel. So the injectors had died as well. So that can happen, especially with ethanol-based fuels. You wanted to see my ugly face some more, didn't you? So we ordered some new injectors for it. We put those in, the bigger injectors to make more power, because we ran, Carl and the tuner. The car ran out of fuel last time they were tuning it, made whatever it was, horsepowers, and the injectors were pretty much maxed out. So things we had to put new ones in, we put more bigger ones. So we've gone from, I think they're 450cc or something like that, to about 750cc. So I put all those in, and they had the wrong plugs on there. So I cut off all the pigtails, put new pigtails on the harness. Good-o. And then we did the injector test, and nice. Click, click, click on one, click, click, click on two, click, click, click on three. Oh, we're on a roll here, this is good. And nothing on number 4. You bastard. So I walk around to the front of the car to see what was going on. Just as I got to the front of the car, he started working. So just threatening him with this big ugly face staring at him, that was enough to make it go. Sometimes they are a little bit sticky from the box, especially if you haven't primed the system, put fuel in there. So I'm not too worried about that. That came to life and it hasn't given any trouble since. So I did a couple of changes on the fuel rail, well, one change really, while the fuel rail was off. The fuel rail had the factory inverse flare fitting on the end here, which required a 90-degree pipe with a AN6 steel weld on, brazed onto the end of it, and then the fuel hose came over here somewhere and went to the little rock catcher type filter. So while we were at it, I chopped that off and put the AN weld on fitting straight onto the end of the fuel rail, made a new hose, and we put one of the, it's a bit hard to see, it's tucked in underneath the fuel pressure gauge there, the Ryco Z5000 RP fuel filter. Now they're a 7 micron fuel filter they use in the V8 supercars. Can we see it from here? There you go, it's kind of tucked in there. Flow, many horsepower, very good, stops all crap getting into the injectors. The injectors were very full of crap. So fixed all those, rightio. Prime the fuel system, check for leaks, no leaks. Right, now turn the key and it should go. Did you get your popcorn out? It went, it ran, and it runs pretty good. And I've been told off by my neighbour because it's a little bit noisy, and apparently I ran it for 4 hours. I ran it for 20 minutes, but and it wasn't in one hit too, it was stop start. So I put a little bit of temp in it for 2 or 3 minutes and checked the coolant system. There was no coolant in there, so that's fine. That's why you don't just run it indefinitely. Sorted that out. That needed a hose replaced on it. I decided I should, because it's on the floor, see? next to the old oil container there. The hose came from the header tank down here, and it came up over here somewhere and back down to that fitting there, and it was actually slightly higher than the top of the cooling system. So, well, or thereabouts, you know, there wasn't a lot of height difference here, so it was air locking. You could fill that up and it wouldn't go into the motor. So it's got a new hose on there now. It's actually joined under there where you can't see it. So it's a Z-type hose to keep it nice and low, so you can fill it up with coolant. Very good. I did that this morning, but earlier on I managed to cobble it together and make it run it up. It's all good. Problem solved. Goes. So it's running pretty nicely. I guess if I start in here with the door closed, it won't be too loud and I won't die. Or I'll video it down at Tuning and Performance where it's going to get tuned. Yes, let's do that. So I'm going to take it out of here and put it on the trailer. It's a nice day, and we'll get it down to Tuning and Performance, and I can run it there and then won't upset my mother-in-law again. Did I say I was going to give you some video? Oops. Kind of just threw it on the trailer and dropped it off and forgot to do that bit. But it ran and it drove and all that. And I've got some video from earlier on. Might be in the wrong format, so, but never mind. Thanks for watching. All right, cheers, bye. It's alright. Made a hell of a mess on the workshop floor. Next up, needs a tune.